And welcome to the webinar, When Logistics Gets in the Way of an Amazing Customer Experience. My name is Megan Billingsley, and I'm excited to moderate this discussion today. When it comes to fulfillment and delivery, we all know speed is king, but your customers' expectations are more complex than the timeliness of their items' arrival. Today's consumers are increasingly choosing brands that, on top of delivering a seamless end-to-end experience, connect to their values and offer something unique, right down to the last mile. For today's discussion, we've convened a panel of brands who recognized a need to shift in order to fulfill on that lasting last impression for their customers. Today, we'll be discussing what triggers led to the realization that their approach to logistics needed to change for a better customer experience, what mattered most to them when evaluating logistics solutions and what were the trade-offs, why brand control is important and how it relates to fulfillment and delivery, and how alignment or misalignment on sustainability values with their customers have impacted their business decisions. But before getting started, we have a few simple housekeeping matters for our viewers. At the bottom of your screen, you'll find some application widgets for your use. These widgets are all resizable and movable, so feel free to move them around to optimize your desktop space. The slides will advance automatically throughout the presentation. To enlarge the slides, click the Enlarge Slides button in the top right-hand corner of your presentation window. All right, it's time to get started. First, let me introduce our speakers. We have with us Soren Valentin, Chief Operating Officer at Christopher Cloos, Darcy Mercier, Director of Operations at Mindful Collective, and Mark Eng, CEO of GoBolt. Thank you all for taking the time to speak with us, and I'll start off by asking this. What was your previous state of logistics, insourced versus outsourced versus combo, and what worked well and what didn't? Darcy, do you want to kick this one off?
Sure, will do. Hi, everybody. For us, we operate two sites, one here in Vancouver, where I'm based, and we also had an in-source site in the Toronto area, which we decided to outsource and started working with Bolt. In what worked well, sometimes just that having that direct control over the team, quick response time, but what we were challenged with was a team that just really wasn't quite up to the level of the standard we needed to serve our customers. So we had some order accuracy issues and some delay issues, which have since gone away.
Excellent, thank you. Do you view logistics as a profit center or a cost center? Soren, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one. I would also have to answer the first one, but we definitely see logistics more as a customer service and not as a cost, because for me, logistics is in the world to add value. So definitely not a cost, it's an add-on to the business. And for the first one, if you want me to answer that one.
Go for it, sure.
We were, before GoBolt, we were only located in Copenhagen, Denmark. We have a product that sells 80% in North America. So logistics became quite complex when shipping 50 to 100 small boxes with sunglasses each day from Copenhagen to North America. Of course, cost-wise, this was also a big issue. So moving our logistics and our supply chain closer to the main market has been extremely important to us and has had a major impact on our business. So working the same hours as in North America, also the customer support now out of New York, it's just extremely important for our customers that they can reach us, we can ship to them when they are awake.
Yeah, and I think maybe to tie those two questions together, that's a perfect example, building off of what Soren said, of when logistics can have an ROI, where certainly there's a price tag to it, but whether you do it directly or indirectly, like Mindful Collective, there's payroll, there's rent, there's all those elements that still come into the fold. But then perhaps there's a broader or deeper set of expertise or a bigger network that can be leveraged. And that is where you should try to find the nuggets of the ROI and where it exists. So I think a good logistics partner should kind of work hand in hand with that on the merchant side to find how you can optimize the network and figure out where it can, turn a cost to have an ROI. Because I think that's really the name of the game in any business and across all line items, and certainly within logistics as well.
Excellent. Thank you for that. If you had to pick one aspect of the fulfillment process to zero in on as the most challenging, what would it be, and how are you addressing it? Darcy?
Throughout my career, I would have to say the most challenging has just been the unpredictability of, volumes in certain periods. Everyone knows you're going to be busy around the FCM, but how busy, and then just the other times where, you either have far more or far less orders than what you expected to get in that period. How we're addressing it, that's part of the reason of working with a provider like GoBolt, where you have high volume and the other customers don't. You can leverage that scale, right? If you're doing it on your own, it gets really tough, especially in today's climate with availability of staffing.
Excellent, thank you. And then Mark, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the other side of this as well.
Through that, I would say in both for Christopher Cloos and for Mindful Collective, you guys both have a wholesale component along with the direct-to-consumer component, right? And for us, like as a logistics business, you're always trying to find ways that are obviously scalable. So to Darcy's point, you can scale the labor side and keep things as competitive as possible for our merchants, but you want to also show up when there's a need to have like a customized flow. So often with like wholesale orders, custom packaging, gift notes and things like that, those are elements which really elevate the customer experience and can delight a shopper and have them return and increase your repurchase rates. So it's figuring out how can we do that stuff at scale to work with our partners. I'm curious, Soren and Darcy, how you guys found the wholesale process when you guys were embedding that into the business in the first place. Do you guys find it like pretty disparate? Like what we found is that different wholesale purchasers have totally and radically different requirements. And so we've been building a lot of tech in the background, which we haven't released yet, to help support wholesale. There's more to come in Q4 of this year that'll release, but I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely challenging, and they're putting more and more and more on their vendors, the wholesale customers. I've seen where we used to pack bulk orders for a warehouse, and then it turns into pack to store. So it's trying to balance what our customers pushing on us with, what that actually costs and what it means to the logistics team as a whole. And, when you have to start doing a whole bunch of special add-on work, it's, each customer individually, it's like, oh, it's just this for this person and just this for that. But when you you start to put it all together, yeah, it gets quite daunting, and it's quite a process to keep track of which customer needs what. But again, that's just getting, that's becoming more and more of a requirement than it was in the past 10 years.
Soren, what about you?
That's a very good question. Of course, I think all online platforms would prefer to sell B2C because the ROI is higher, less complex. But I think also it's becoming important for a physical product to be out and be shown in attractive spots where customers actually can go and see it for real. So I think it's a necessity for us to work with a B2B and to be in the attractive spots. And then we have to handle the complexity, and of course that the ROI is not as high as with the B2C customers. I think also there's everyone has to evaluate in critical times where it's with the supply chain is stretched. It's difficult to get your inventory. Then it's an important decision if you want to sell B2B. If let's say you have a situation where you could sell 100% B2C, and the income and the ROI is higher on the B2C. So do we really want to sell 30% of our inventory at less income to B2B? But for us, the answer have been, yes, we do, because we want to be out and be physical with the right retailers.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then, for our side, I would say, you look at margin and you look at the holistic P&L by B2B or B2C, it's actually, for us, it's pretty similar. So yes, you have the complexity of packing the orders and ticketing and labeling, but your outbound freight per unit is vastly less than a B2C order. And then you don't have to deal with the returns. You don't have to deal with the ad spend. So yeah, your gross margin on D2C, at least in our case, is way higher, of course. But, at the end, your net profit in the way we're set up is actually quite close. So they're both, really symbiotic for us. It's important as especially a small brand. So to your point, Soren, get your product out there, get consumers seeing it. Because when you're smaller, it's about, just people even hearing about your brand. That's a big challenge. So,
For sure.
Yeah, both businesses work well for us.
Excellent, thank you. What factors did you consider when evaluating a new logistics solution? Maybe what were some of the most important, but also what were you willing to compromise on? Soren, would you start this one?
Yeah, for sure. I chose GoBolt in the middle of the Corona, and normally I would not choose such an important partner without actually visiting. It was not possible. So I had to gain trust in this company. I didn't know it at all. So the trust was gained basically by the people I was speaking to. It was, and I think that my main reason for choosing was the technology and the online platform, which I really liked. It was simple, it was easy to work with, and the people behind it, the tech guys, they were really good. I really had the feeling that they knew what they were doing, and that gave me comfort and trust that this was the right way to go. But definitely a difficult decision when you actually can't physically visit your new partner and looking them into the eyes and then maybe inspect the warehouse and meet the people in the warehouse and stuff like that. But I think we made the right choice under difficult circumstances.
Yeah, I would echo that as well. It was also quite a leap of faith making a 3PL decision in the middle of a pandemic when you can't visit. The speed of getting orders out and accuracy is the most important. Also cost. I mean, there is some huge variances in what providers are charging, especially when we were looking in the pandemic when demand was just surging and space was and still is at quite a premium. Compromise on, I would say, in the case of GoBolt, I'd never worked with them before, but yeah, also to Soren's point, it's just was able to establish what I felt like was a good level of trust right off, and I was willing to take some risk with going with someone I hadn't worked with before, with the promise of that service level GoBolt provides.
Excellent, thank you. What about sustainability? Does that impact how your companies make logistics-focused decisions? Darcy?
It does. I'd have to say it's still a bit of an afterthought for a lot of people, but I think, this is something that's going to be really, really important in the next 5 years. Consumers hopefully will start to change behaviors too. I mean, a lot of the challenges, people just buy stuff on e-com and return it because they can without a thought of, the impact of that. So definitely that final mile being efficient, and like the electrified vehicles Bolt is investing in is important for me and for our company.
Yeah, if I may add, it's very important for us. We do have a zero carbon strategy in 2025, And just moving our fulfillment from Copenhagen to North America cut half of our CO2 because it's definitely easier to send a package from Toronto to North America or Canada than Copenhagen, and using much less CO2. So, but looking at the GoBolt when making the decision wasn't it wasn't that focus area, but for sure in the future that we use recyclable packaging and stuff like that will definitely be issues in the future. But for me, just cutting CO2 to less than 1/3 was the first step for choosing GoBolt or our fulfillment center in North America.
Yeah, I think we're going to be moving, correct me if I'm wrong, Soren, some product to one of our LA facilities, which I think will further cut that. So just nothing structurally different from like an EV fleet or not, but just moving product closer to your customer is already like a huge advantage, but you need that network to work for you.
For sure.
Excellent, thank you. Soren, what performance benchmarks have you set for yourselves, and did that play into the decision at all? And how do you even hold your logistics partner accountable?
Actually, we don't measure on any specific KPIs on my one-on-one with my partners. I actually don't get a report of how many of our shipments are within our SLA. Maybe that's an area that would be good to have a look at if we could get the data pretty automatic. I think, but we're not doing it now. But I think for now, we've been in business together for half a year, and it will definitely be an area for the future to look into how we are both performing. I'm more looking into my own ability to have the goods in the warehouse and our fulfillment percentage. So I'm putting the hard KPIs on myself for now, but for sure in the future, I will put it on my one-on-ones with my GoBolt partner. I think that will be good for both parties to have a number to look at, and with GoBolt's ability or expertise with the platform, I'm sure that these numbers can be pulled pretty easy.
Yeah, we'll get those reports sent to you, Soren. Those are definitely available, so we can add those immediately.
Yeah, I would agree too. That actually be something would be nice to see in the portal, at some point in the future too, Mark.
Yeah, that's on deck for, I believe, Q3 or Q4 enhancement. As you know, like our data tool is a separate one to our main portal, but embedding it in a way where you guys can simply just self-serve is a huge priority, just because if you're up at midnight for whatever reason, you want to check on the status of orders based on, hours to fulfill, hours or days to deliver, decentralizing that so that your teams can be more empowered versus, having your weekly meetings or monthly business reviews for sure. So that's on deck, and that'll make the portal more robust, which we're excited about, and I think will help out a ton.
Cool.
Excellent, thank you. So with a looming recession that could have an impact on e-commerce sales, what are you looking for from your logistics solution now? Darcy, would you kick us off?
Sure. I mean, flexibility primarily. Definitely the market has softened for us already with summer coming. And the inflation we're seeing, people have less disposable income, and they're not necessarily practicing yoga at home. They want to go out and enjoy the summer in Canada, which is all too short. So really, just flexibility on slightly reduced volumes and space for storage is key. Help get over the slow time.
Excellent, thank you. Soren, anything to add?
Yeah, I think I agree with the comments, but also looking a little more ahead. Of course, we try to run a lean business, but it could be, for me, it would be an advantage to get a little closer to the warehouse staff, or get a key account or key person in the warehouse my comment is in the direction of moving more from a 3 to a 4 PL. I think I wouldn't mind paying more hours to have some hands to help me with add-on services in the warehouse. I'll give an example. We sell eyewear, and we obviously have both sunglasses and blue light glasses. And sometimes, like a small job like changing lenses, we have a lot of sun, and we have to change the lenses, and that person could be educated like in 2 hours. And then sometimes it would be great to have these services in the warehouse, and so we could simply get inventory from an SKU that we lack. These small add-on services on floor. Now we have the return process up and running. How do we handle the returns? But an add-on to that could be to have some of these more 4PL-like services on hand, and maybe a little closer communication with a key person in the warehouse. I really much appreciate the people I'm speaking to, but they are not on the floor, not on the shop floor, and I don't know if it's doable. But for me, as a comment, it would be a great advantage to have someone to support us with these kind of tasks.
Yeah, I know the RX flow is one that we were working to design around. It's actually something we can probably take up. I'm curious if you think that the shipment of like the RX lens is a separate component part that maybe the user changes that themselves. But I think getting a VAS or dedicated team lead, it's something we've been doing more and more. I mean, Darcy, you probably felt that with your kind of team lead who kind of is an ops coordinator to help manage the volume of B2B orders. It's super helpful to have like a faster feedback. So Soren, we'll take that one offline, but I think there could be something we can work out.
That's great.
Awesome. Yeah. What I might add to that is like, what we're trying to take on ourselves is like, how do we find nuggets of ROI beyond just forward placement, getting product close to the customer, things that you would just expect to benefit from within a network. So that could be obviously our bargaining power from a packaging perspective. It could be negotiating power with carriers, but with our own EV fleet, what we're excited about is the ability to eliminate surcharges, whether it's residential surcharges or fuel surcharges being a massive one right now, where that could add 30% premiums to the base cost of that label in today's time, particularly with everything going around in the world. So our EV fleet will omit that. And once we have most of our parcel last mile electrified, our merchants and their shoppers should see that reduction pretty tangibly. So we're excited about that because that's going to be a very kind of foundational change in how we currently ship products as we get that higher percent. Right now, about 20% of our orders are fulfilled that way. We want to get that to 95 by the end of next year. And we're on track to do that. So that'll be really meaningful, Soren and Darcy, once we have that fully up and running. But you guys will obviously get the benefits of it in the meantime as it trickles in. So we're excited about that on our side.
Yeah, we're excited about being able to talk about that too, Mark.
Well, there'll be more to come. So we are getting our next big swath of trucks in the coming couple of weeks. So there'll be more that we can do, and there's a lot of activations that we're going to start to work through our account teams and you guys on being super loud and proud about that.
Sweet.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So let's shift our conversation a little bit into the customer experience. Soren, what triggers led to realizing your logistics approach needed to change for a better customer experience?
I think it's very little things because the main things is, of course, shipping in time and having a reliable shipping partner or courier, which we do have. I think I'm shipping a lot over the border to the US. So being a little closer to the carrier, UPS, DHL, or whoever it is, because sometimes things just get stuck without reason sometimes at the border. And usually, I think me or the GoBolt partner could provide the necessary info in 2 minutes, but we just don't hear about it from the carrier, and it's of course things that's causing pain in the supply chain, because in the end the customer doesn't get his package. So an area for improvement would be to have a direct link between the carrier and the shipper sometimes.
I think you'll be happy, Soren. We're going to be starting first-party direct injection soon. So it'll be our truck, our team member going over the border daily to directly inject that product. So it won't actually go through the UPSs and DHL channels for cross-border purposes. They might take it the final leg once we're over the border. But that'll be, I think, a really big unlock. We've been cautiously keeping that under wraps, but figured it'd be appropriate to let you know now, because it'll be here soon enough. But those direct injection points will be from Vancouver, Calgary, and Toronto, and be going to either New York or LA directly. So yeah, those are going to be some really good, I think, developments for both.
That's going to be great. Yeah, great news.
Yeah, they're excited about that.
Yeah, that is good news. For us, Triggers, I was having a big challenge with speed and accuracy. A small team based 4 hours away by plane, so managed remotely. And just really a challenge where, space was way too small as well, which led to mistakes in the orders and not being able to get the orders out in acceptable time, which is completely step changed now that we've started working with GoBolt.
Excellent. Thank you. Go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, we're starting our peak plan. It started last month, and it's just hard to predict, obviously, with potential recessionary pressures, coupled with like the lack of reliability of year-over-year data. So we're trying to do our best to figure out what this year will hold. What we'll end up probably doing is over-preparing and then seeing, where we need to dial back. But, all this is going to be make for an interesting peak season. So we'll see how this one fares.
Mark, just as a follow-up for you, as a vendor, how important is the customer experience to you?
So I have this saying where, I think Darcy and Soren will appreciate this, but it's that you're only as good as your last execution. Because our partnerships with Darcy and Soren and their teams, like, we can look and have the benefit of looking at, okay, holistically, what's the success rate? But for me, where I spend a lot of my time is, let's look at the negative variance. So if we have a 99.995% pick accuracy, what's that 0.005 being driven from? Is that mislabeling? Is that like bad put away? Is that bad replen? Like, where is that coming from? And how do we prevent that from happening? Because the ultimate person at the end of that 0.005% deficiency is an individual. And that's going to probably be their only interaction in that period of time with Darcy and Soren's brands. And so we take that super seriously, because that's going to influence whether they repurchase, whether they tell their friend, whether they have a really positive experience, a negative experience. So that's how we can influence it within our four walls. Outside of our four walls, as we start to do an integrated parcel network and solution for our partners, being able to celebrate and promote that, hey, this is in a real-time truck tracker, so they'll see our vehicle like in an Uber-like experience. This is an EV fleet. It's offsetting X amount of tons of CO2. You're helping contribute to this, and here's how we actually quantify it, and really kind of bring that to the shopper to show that they're supporting that ecosystem, I think will be important. But like I said, like, we can look at hundreds of thousands of shipments that we take on, but for that one individual, it's the only one that they'll likely receive. And so we take that super seriously.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Darcy, from your perspective, who owns the customer experience process? Like, does it fall under logistics, or are there others involved? And just kind of follow up with that, how can logistics teams take ownership of the customer experience?
Sure. Well, I mean, how you learn about it depends how your customer service team is structured and who it reports to. I've seen it report to the e-com team. In this business I'm in now, it reports to me in operations. Either way, whether it reports to you or not, I mean, logistics causes most of the questions that customers ask of you. It's It's usually, where's my package, or why is my package late, or they've gotten the wrong thing, or the box has become damaged, or they want to return it. So, logistics controls most of the process that people complain about, or praise you for. So I think, if the customer service team reports to you or not, it's really important to partner with them to get that data, to learn, why customers are calling in and what their issues are, and then just start attacking it from the biggest issues, the ones driving most of the contacts and comments.
Thank you. Soren or Mark, anything to add?
I think it's extremely important that the end-to-end supply chain owns the customer service. End-to-end supply chain is responsible for getting goods into the inventory and shipping it to the customers and returning it when needed. Everything that's in between is taken care of by customer support when something is not right. And this is a team effort. And I think these two, logistics or end-to-end supply chain, needs to be very, very closely connected to customer service. That's my advice to everybody doing a B to a C online business.
Yeah, we think of it in a similar matrix there, Soren. We used to have CS report into ops, and ops, of course, owns our field operation and our warehouse operation, and network design. And what we've actually done is we've created a separate leader on our ELT, who's our SVP of customer, and he has our VP of customer service and VP of account management roll into him. And the reason we've done that is we wanted there to be like a decisive seat at the table for the customer voice on both like growth opportunities of how we can better show up for our merchants, but also on the CS side to understand how are our ticket volumes changing with new product releases or new changes to our design and our flows. And what you guys might have noticed over the past even just month is that we've like fundamentally shifted how we are structuring our support day-to-day, our account management rhythms, and it's driving like faster responses, faster full-time resolutions. And it's because it's under a dedicated owner whose main task and KPIs are all about customer happiness, satisfaction, and so on. And it's out of the day-to-day of operations where, all the things that, we try to show up and have fast and accurate fulfillment. That is a beast in and of itself at scale. So let's not add on the customer importance and demands there. So that separate leader structures, at least for us as like a logistics business, is different, but fully agree with what Soren and Darcy said on within operations is probably the right place for a D2C business where, directly you can respond and adapt quickly without needing to wait for like a weekly meeting for it to pop up in an agenda. You can deal with it as it comes up and you are the final decision maker as that ops leader.
Excellent. Thank you so much. How are you measuring or monitoring your customer experience? Soren, we'll start with you.
Yeah, we do monitor this every 3 months with a survey that we're sending out together with the online orders. And we do have a target of reaching a level of satisfied customers of minimum 90%. And we do it by an online survey that we are sending directly to the customers with the online orders.
And from us, I'm looking at weekly, monthly contacts, contact percentages versus your order total, because it's all about ratios. Why people are contacting us is something spiking or changing in a way that we hadn't seen before. And then just, internally measuring our team as well as Bolt on how quickly we're getting orders out and what our accuracy level is.
Excellent. Thank you so much. What can a 3PL do to support your customer experience in a new or novel way? Darcy, will you kick us off?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity still on that final mile delivery and tracking. I was fortunate enough to live in Europe for a few years, and there's some really cool tech around, a GPS tracking of the driver and where he is, and having opportunities to tell them exactly where you'd like a parcel left if you're not going to be home, getting photos instantly when it's delivered. I think, giving people quicker, faster, precise information on where their order is, because that's actually primarily the driver of most of your customer contacts.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Soren, anything to add?
No, it's the little things, and it's all about people in the end. Put down a word called accuratesse, which is being to the point, precise. And I'm here out on the shop floor because the guys doing the picks, they decide in the end if the customer gets the right package. And I think our small inventory is on shelves, and if you have to make a pick and you pick on that side of the shelf, you pick the right, but if you do right next to it, you take the wrong. And it's just, extremely important that they pick the right, and they do that very, very often, or 98% probably. But for the 2% when they pick the wrong, we do always get issues, and so I think I'm sure that you're all aware of that, and especially Mark, that training the people in the warehouse to have this accuratesse is extremely important, because doing a mistake is just expensive for everyone.
Yeah, we've got our scan-based picking, which has been live for some time. So you've got to scan the right location, the right SKU, and then at the pack station. So really, we don't really have any mispicks unless the product's labeled incorrectly. What could potentially happen is like an underpick where you accidentally scan two things when you should have only scanned, you actually meant to scan two products versus one product twice. And so that's good just because there's no reload of like an extra product that's out there in the world, and inventory generally can get rolled back properly there. But yeah, no, sorry, can't underscore enough the ripple effects that a wrong shipment has on the customer experience, the headaches. It's logarithmically scaling versus just linearly. So well noted there.
Excellent, thank you. What about looking ahead to peak season? How are you preparing for peak season to ensure a smooth customer experience? What have you maybe learned from past peak seasons? And what, if anything, do you think will be different this year? Soren?
First of all, for us, we are finishing our peak season now. It's about having inventory. That's been extremely difficult because we get inventory out of Shanghai by airplane. It's been closed for 8 weeks when we were needing our goods the most. But long time planning, for sure, extremely important. And a bigger investment in inventory that I have seen in many years is important right now because of the global logistic issues. Simply, as an online platform, the key is having inventory. And for us, we have not performed well doing this. We lack a lot of SKUs because we simply can't get them out from our supplier for the moment. But long-term planning would be the answer.
Yeah, thanks. Agree. Planning is key for peak, of course, but also be prepared to throw that plan out the window and deal with what you're facing. I've had to face a number of challenging years where it's way over forecast or way under forecast. So just being able to react, and when it is over forecast, super key in supply chain. Learned a long time ago to really just overshoot the solution. Overstaff it if you can, just to get those orders out and get caught up as quick as possible, because otherwise it can really snowball. And as far as differences, I mean, we've into 2-3 years of completely incomparable years with COVID. So yeah, I'm assuming everything's going to be different. So making a plan, but keeping a close eye on actuals is really important.
Yeah, I think that's just it, right? It's working in partnership from a forecasting perspective with the understanding that forecast can be entirely wrong, and having that agility to trigger contingent staff or other protocols whether it's moving labor from one of our sites to another, calling HQ teams to the site, like all things that we've done before, whether it's off-peak surges in volume, like due to like unplanned promotions or major coverage by an influencer or a media outlet, are all things that, like, I think Darcy and Soren, you guys lean on us for, and we need to show up in a big way for you guys and for other merchants. So all that to say, it's like planning is important so you can directionally get it right. And then the agility and the culture of just responding to whatever challenges in front of you is really what gets it the rest of the way. And so we're excited for what this one holds in stores. I feel like we're bigger than ever before. We have more resources going into peak planning. So I'm excited to see how much smoother it'll be over last year and the year before that. So time will tell. We'll chat with you in January.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Soren, Darcy, and Mark, for that insightful discussion. We are all out of time for today. But before we sign off, I just wanted to thank you, our audience, for joining us. Today's webinar will also be available on demand if you want to review anything that we talked about. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.